Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Progressively Incorrect. My name is Zach Rochelle, and I am very excited today to be talking to my friend Laura all about her learning journey in becoming a better teacher, because she's been posting some really great things online that I just think it's important to highlight practitioners who are on the cutting edge of instruction. Before that, I just wanted to talk a little bit about our sponsors. The first one is John Catt Educational, which publishes some of the best books in education, including my book, Just Tell Them: The Power of Explanations and Explicit Teaching. Check out the links in the show notes to the catalog, the John Catt catalog, and get yourself a book and start your evidence-based learning journey. The other sponsors, or I guess who's supercharging this episode, is Step Lab, and we are inviting you to come to one of our mini events that are happening across the United States and Canada as part of my role as director of Step Lab North America. Check out the show notes for links to those, and I hope to see you there. Laura, how are you doing?
I'm doing really great. Good to see you.
How would you introduce yourself? And we're just going to dig right in just a moment into like things you've been working on, buckets of things you've been improving lately.
Okay, so I'm a second grade teacher in Wyoming, in Thermopolis, and I am a Goyen Fellow this year. I'm also on the board for the Reading League Wyoming. We just started that. We just celebrated our first anniversary, so that was exciting. And that's probably about it.
Nice. And you have decided to do something that many people would find maybe terrifying, which is you've been sharing videos of your teaching. It's sort of vulnerable, I feel like, putting yourself in that kind of position. Why did you decide to start doing that? Like, what was the thing that kind of made you want to do that?
There's a couple of things. I've just been really, really, really appreciative of the education community as a whole on their generosity and sharing their knowledge and expertise. And I learn a ton from podcasts and videos. And so it's been really exciting to share what I've been learning in my classroom. And I'm really actually surprised how it is helping people. It's kind of really neat to connect with just even individual teachers and asking questions, and they get to tell me their journey. And I'm like, that's where I was, and this is how I get to this is what makes it work really well. And so that has been really exciting. So I actually really like filming myself now. I think it's a lot of fun, and I really learn a lot myself when I do it. So yeah.
Well, you brought us sort of five things you've been working on, and we're sort of copying like the Craig Barton tips for teachers kind of format here. I don't know if it's copyrighted or whatever, but we're taking the sort of five tips, things that you've found to be helpful to focus on. Why don't you start us off?
Okay, so I heard Pam Kastner say something about integrate, and I think that is really probably one of the next important steps in the science of reading journey, and not really, and even the science, adding in the science of learning, but specifically in the science of reading. I think we've been a little bit like compartmentalizing all the different things, phonemic awareness and phonics and knowledge building and writing, and they're kind of all been separated. And I think it's really important to start bringing those things together as much as possible, because I think part of the problem is we're doing really well in all these pieces, but I think it's difficult for children to start consolidating all those into, because really they're all just one piece. And it's good that we have separated them now and we're teaching them those explicitly and teaching them really well, but we also need to make sure we're bringing them back together into one whole. Just an example, Edie Hirsch, I think, was really, really good at understanding, especially in the knowledge building realm, that we need to have more than just the literature. It's not just informational text and narrative text. It's also there's geography, there's history, there's poetry, art, and music. And I see a little bit of watering down of the knowledge a little bit. And I think we're kind of taking a little bit of his vision and kind of taking out those really important pieces. And I think we need to start bringing in those back in those cultural pieces that inform those narrative, those stories, and that information, because I think those are different expressions of people's culture and understanding and artistry that children also need to be exposed to. So it's not just about reading, it's also about expressing yourself, I don't know, in a really amazing way that sometimes I think we take all those things out because we don't have time or whatever, but we need to start bringing that back in. And I think that on the flip side, that virtuous cycle, we will then also be increasing their ability to read and understand what they're reading.
It's interesting how we've kind of can go a little bit, we can become a little bit narrow in the curriculum, and that we really are just trying to make sure that every student masters certain foundational skills. I am 100% in favor of them mastering those things because we just jump way too quickly to some sort of like higher goal that the kids can't even do when we don't give them
Right.
those skills. But there is something missing in that. What are they writing for? What are they writing about? Are they writing at all? Right? Are they reading widely? Are they getting exposed to really interesting and powerful ideas? Or are we sort of stuck in the kind of manufactured text world and snippet world? And this is just all serving sort of test prep purposes and not serving a larger goal of actually educating them. And is that what you're trying to get at here?
Yeah, we don't need to make it so sterile. And I think we were so worried about, well, our kids aren't reading, so we're just going to teach reading for 2 hours a day. And so we took out those other important pieces, science, history, geography, art, music. Um, and what happened was I think we've done them, it hasn't helped their reading because it hasn't exposed them to the knowledge so that when they do read something, they don't have any background knowledge or understanding of that because they haven't been exposed to it. And so I'm really enjoying seeing this knowledge building becoming more and more important and understanding that that's important. But I also see a little bit of a watering down, and I think we need to bring in all those other pieces. And then, like you said, we got to start writing about this and we got to start expressing this in other ways. And it can't be we're writing something completely different from what we're reading about. Like my fluency is tied to what we're learning in knowledge. Like if we're learning about ancient China, then I have articles, fluency articles that are about the geography of China or other different pieces. So it's not just so completely separate from other things. And it can sometimes have just like even like a little tiny tie. The idea is building all that schema because the stronger a schema you have, the easier it is for them to remember it. And then they become really, really good readers because they have all that knowledge to pull from.
It takes a bit of some wizardry, but I think it takes an openness to seeing those connections. Like you said, you can easily just have ChatGPT create a fluency text that's sort of somewhat leveled to the student, but it includes some of the this vocabulary so that they kind of get that immersion experience where, yeah, we're not leaving it behind. Our spelling words relate to our vocabulary words, which relate to the fluency texts, and you're just sort of weaving things together. I'm not saying it's easy, and I can see the role in actually having instructional designers do this for teachers. But when you're
Yeah.
when you have a lot of siloed programs and different things to use, you've got to be that artist that puts it all together.
Yes, yes, for sure. But thank goodness for ChatGPT because that is making it way more easier to do. And that is at a grade level text too. Because that is the hardest part, especially second grade.
So this idea of kind of integration, I'm sensing a bit when thinking of the DI lens, like you just kind of you're just weaving strands, kind of a strand design where these things are not siloed.
Yes.
Monday phonics, Tuesday vocabulary, right? These things need to be thought about in concert with other things. What's your second thing you've been working on?
Okay, so this is kind of a little bit of a sub integration. I think we need to start talking more about spelling. And I think the problem with spelling was, at least when I was in school, it was you got a list on Monday and you took a quiz on Friday and you pretty much did all the practice at home. And it really was just copying the words, like however many times. And so, no, that's not a very helpful way to learn spelling. But I think spelling is important, and I think it needs to be more than just like for a second. Like I think it needs to be up in the other upper elementary and maybe even into secondary a little bit. I really like Sean Morrissey's work on this. And I think this is another integration piece. His spelling, vocabulary, morphology, and fluency all connected into those pieces. So they're learning how to spell those words. They're learning those morphological parts. And also Lynn Stone does a good job of this too. Well, let's say not good job. She's brilliant and amazing. But just making those connections with morphology pieces, but then he's putting them into texts and that he's using ChatGPT. So they're seeing them in the context of a text, but it's not just reading, it's also spelling, because spelling and writing are probably the hardest pieces of literacy to teach and to master. And you can read, just because you can read it doesn't mean you can spell it. So I just think I'm seeing that in the edu world, that spelling is coming up more and more. So I'm glad to see that. But I think we need to start bringing that more. And here's just a little bit that I think is a productive way of teaching spelling. You're introducing the word, they're writing it down, and you're teaching them those parts, either syllables or morphological pieces, and then emphasizing the different like morph or graphemes. And but then you're practicing those like several times a day. Like when I usually introduce 3 to 6 words a day, and we're practicing them 3 times that day, just with mini whiteboards really quick. And I'll just dictate the word and they'll practice writing it. So they're having constantly to pull that spelling out of their head, that retrieval practice, right? And then practicing that on their mini whiteboards really quick. And then throughout the week, practicing those over and over and reviewing the old words. And then I'm also doing CCC where they cover, copy, compare. So there's really, really good ways to teach spelling and practice it in a way that's a lot better than it used to be.
Awesome. And and we get with kids to this it's just the calculator effect where it's like they don't need to learn how to spell because of the chat GPT or because of spell check or whatever. And we are really, I feel like sometimes we've stripped out anything that's left. And we've got to bring them back in so that these kids can be literate. That's the thing.
Right, right. Yeah. And like just the same with schema, they need that schema in their head. And then they can read it, because if they can spell it, they can read it. I worked in middle school, and spell check is not their friend for a lot with all those academic words. It's not helpful. So yeah. Anyway.
Bring us number 3. Let me summarize though. The listener has a hard time sometimes holding on to these things. First one is really an integration of sort of, let's not forget about knowledge, a knowledge rich, powerful education. We've also got to look at things like how spelling and vocabulary and fluency, how these are all intertwined. What do you have for us next?
Well, I had this 100% engagement 100% of the time, but I kind of wanted to just specifically, like something I've really been working on is front loading instructions. And I think they just call it front loading, or I'm not really sure what all the terms are. But I I think it was Carl Hendrick or Kirschner posted an article on this, and I read it and I thought, wow. So I think it's just really, really helpful for transitions. And then Adam Boxer did this beautiful like how to and not to. So I'm not going to do it justice, but you give the instructions in full. So here's an example. So I'll say, without talking, pencil in the air. So they don't know what they're doing yet. It's what happens after they do the instruction, right? So without talking, pencil in the air, turn to page 58. And then as soon as they get to 58, there are pencils in the air. Because I think what can mess up is you'll say, okay, why don't you turn to page 58? Well, you've lost them then. All of a sudden, they're all turning to 58. And so your do it without talking and pencil in the air is lost on them. Or you'll say, without talking, turn to page 58, pencil in the air. They're not hearing that pencil in the air. So that's something I've been really working on. Oh my goodness, you would not believe how fast transitions happen. And I am not calling students back every second anymore, because I've told them I don't want them talking. And so they're not talking, and we are able to move on so fast. It has been amazing. And that one was really easy to do like that day. I really, really liked that one. And then the second one, I have been watching the step log videos and the merit demerit thing. Um, I have to say at first, I'm like, well, I don't think we can do that in America, but holy cow, merits and demerits are a game changer. Those things are gold. You would not believe I'm like, merit for this person. His hand is in the air, straight arms, the whole class, beautiful. Or merit for this person. They are ready, they're in slant, ready to go. The whole class immediately sits up. Those two things have been amazing for my classroom, especially right now. March, when it's summer or when spring is, the behaviors like shoot through the roof. And so it has been really nice to just keep the class going and keep those behaviors in check. And I can't believe those two little things make such a huge difference in my classroom.
Love it. Love it. And those are things that we just kind of had to pick up as we go. It's just strange that that wasn't the first class, that the first
I
class
know,
is how to give directions.
I know, I know, I know. There's so many things that we need to learn in teacher education that we do not learn. Oh,
I'm curious because everyone asks me this. I have my own way. How do you record the merit demerit system and what do you do with it? Like everyone always asks me that. Do you have a kind of a method that how you've been recording those?
yeah. So I saw on the video, they just had a sheet and it had everyone's name and it had the whole week on there. So it had Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then it had merit, demerit, two columns per day, right? And then I put all the children's names in alphabetical order. And then I stuck that on a clipboard. And every day I have a select few students that I know can keep up with the merits while also keep with the learning. And so I give it to them and they just do it. And I'm just calling out merit, demerit, mostly merit. I won't want to say that I very rarely have to say demerit, just so you know. It is amazing what a merit will do to like clean up your class. So that's what I'm doing. And then I thought it was interesting. They said when they're doing independent work that the teacher does that. And so I will do that when they're working on independent work. I have my own clipboard. So I have two clipboards going. So that's the other one stays at their desk when I'm using mine. And then at the end of the day, when they're doing cleanup, I'll just quickly take those and I look for the ones that don't have demerits. And then I was doing like the top three, but since it's new, I'm kind of giving everyone without a demerit. I just have like stickers or treasure box or candy, just something really simple and fast for me. But I think next year I might have something like a little more specific, but for right now it's working and they're happy and they always ask who gets to have a prize and then who gets to do the merits. They're more excited about recording the merits and demerits than anything else. So it's kind of funny. They really love it. I was shocked. I can't believe how much traction it has gotten and that is sustained. The traction is sustaining in their excitement over that. Yeah.
With the demerits too, I'm like, right, I like almost never use them. But my
Yeah.
my trick, I swear it works. Maybe Doug Lemov told me this, I don't know. But like my trick is that I walk up to the student while everyone's actually working, right? And I
Uh-huh.
and I just whisper it. I say, hey, that's gonna be a demerit. And I
Oh,
swear that kind of like knee down, whisper, hey, I'm on your side, but no, you can't do that anymore. It just keeps it private from everyone. Then I'll walk over to the clipboard, right? But I want to have that quick whisper, and I swear that usually like that deters them for quite some time afterwards. I don't know.
that's, yeah, I like that. Yeah. Sometimes you need the whole class to know that this isn't acceptable, but I really like that too. And you just really it just shuts things down. It's so nice. We used to, a lot of people use like class dojo points, but I could never get that to figure out, especially because I'm like, I don't have time to sit here and be clicking a button. So if you use class dojo points, it's really like that. But you have someone else recording. It was kind of funny because I have people that come in my room, of course, like pairs and sped teachers. And so when I was started doing it, they're like, how in the world is she keeping track of all this? Because they didn't know there was a student with a clipboard. So it was kind of funny when they figured out how I knew who was getting what. So anyway.
Work smarter, not harder. That's what it sounds like to me. I know the
Like,
problem with Dojo for me is it takes up my board space. I
yep.
need that to always have the images or whatever, and it's
Hmm.
there, and I'm scrolling back and forth. So I got an iPad, and now I'm walking around with this iPad and doing it. It just at a certain point in time, it's like,
Yeah.
where's the low tech version of this? And
Yeah.
um,
It's
hey,
much easier.
what do you have for us next? I love so far this whole conversation. So front loading expectations and coupling that with a kind of an incentive system. What do you got
Mhm.
next?
Okay, fluency. So I loved Anastocki's interview with Brian Ponce. I think I heard that in the spring or summer of last year. And as soon as I started school in September, I immediately integrated the math two a days that he has, where you're doing two-minute timings of math facts a day. And we give the pre-assessment so everyone is in their level at the right spot. And I love that Mike, any child can accelerate through that, but you're able to still do a whole class. So it was working really, really well, and they were growing. And then I also had some intervention pieces on the ones that were struggling, because he has those other pieces too. And so we do that another time of the day, like cover, copy, compare. That's where I stole that from, is from him. But then it was getting a little stagnant. Like, there were some kids that just were not growing, and they were not getting fluent. They were accurate, but they were not breaking into the next level. And so then I watched your webinar on precision teaching. It was at Morningside Academy. Is that what it's called? Yeah. And this is not even close to how I mean, they're very, very sophisticated on the precision teaching, but I just really loved that daily goal, and that instant gratification, or that instant feedback for them of how I'm doing. And so I can't do a chart. I got to do something that's fast. And so I just, you know what? Take the first timing, count how many problems you did. Just really quick, count them really quick. So they take a few seconds, they count them, and then they write at the top. Or then I say, okay, only add 1 or 2 points, because I really thought that was important about precision teaching. We're not trying to get to 40 the first day. Just go, like, you're at 20, get to 22. And that daily motivation. And so I think that was really a powerful piece of that precision teaching too. So I'm like, just add 2 or 3, 4 points, and that's it. So if they get 20, 22, and they write that at the top of the next page that they're going to do, then we do the second timing. Oh my goodness. Every morning now, the room is filled with joy. I just would love everyone to come to my room and to listen to how excited they are. Like, Mrs. Stam, I will put 22 and I got 35. And I mean, they're, or I got to row 6 today. You would not believe the joy and excitement that fills that room every single morning. And my kids that were stagnant and were not growing are finally breaking that mold, or not mold, but breaking that where they were. They're getting fluent now. And so it makes me so happy to see that they're doing that. So I really want to start trying to do this with reading too, because fluency, I have really good fluency stuff with poetry and articles and stuff, but I think they just need that extra little daily, a 1 minute timing, just to give themselves some motivation to really increase that fluency. I cannot believe how powerful that little daily goal has been in increasing fluency.
And I think you're being too hard on yourself by saying you're not giving precision teaching justice, right? Like, I just don't think you need to use that standard acceleration chart. Like,
Okay, good, because I
you know,
don't know how to do that.
like I don't
That
think you.
thing is so intimidating. I'm like, I know I can figure this out, but I don't know how.
I know. I don't think, and I'm interested in like a simplified chart. If someone, I know it would mean more printing probably, but I'm like, honestly, that's how I see it too. What blew my mind was like, I'm timing these kids already 1 minute. Why don't I take advantage of the fact they just kind of warmed up to it and just do a second one? And when I did that
Oh
second
yeah,
one and saw everyone, because now it's not as much retrieval, now it's mostly like rehashing what you just retrieved. But
right.
you get both the retrieval effects of the first one, and you get the sense of success of the second one, and you get way more practice in. I think it's the bee's knees. So I'm so happy you're trying that out.
Oh yeah, it's been amazing. Yeah, I'd highly recommend. you need to find Brian Ponce's Mind Facts on Fire, and then you need to add in the goal piece. And he does have, like, they have a graph, but I would only do it once a week, and that was good. But it's the changing to a daily is so powerful. And I don't graph anymore, just write it because it needs to be fast. So I'm glad that you're okay with how I'm doing it.
I've never been one of those people that like even with DI in a sense, like using the scripts, which we're going to talk about in a second. I
Yep.
believe just read the script, but like the way that you might go about next steps, like with like firming correct answers, or maybe how you use your feedback and things like that. I think there's a lot of room to like adjust and bring yourself into this. Let's go to this
Yeah.
since we're towards the
Yes.
end of our episode. So you sort of landed on, as part of your large number of solutions, of using some DI programs. What got you to sort of decide that that was the right thing to do, and how has it been going?
We have some really good stuff in place with our reading instruction. We don't really have that excuse anymore. Well, they just weren't taught well. But I was still getting students that it just still wasn't connecting. And I was really frustrated. I'm like, I'm doing all the right things. So how come I'm not getting these few students? And so I'm pretty sure I was introduced to DI from your podcast. So that's how I found it in the first place, and reading mastery. So I just thought, I'm just going to try reading mastery and see how it goes. Every single one of my students, except for two, are decoding high 80s to 90% accurate. And I've never been able to do that. And not only that, they are loving reading, and like they have so much confidence in reading. And we still have a long ways to go with fluency, but not a long ways, but so that's the next step. But we're all in fluency now. We're not having to deal with decoding. But what I really find interesting, it's just such a different way of teaching how to read, that I think it's because, I mean, I know all those pieces of interleaving and retrieval and all that are built into it, but I think it's just because they're integrating immediately. And I think that's why that piece of integration is so important. Like, we got to start putting these things back together. And I think Reading Master already just did that really well. I had kids, they were, when they read to me that first day, I'm like, I'm never going to teach you how to read. I don't know how to help you. I was so worried. And now they're reading beautifully. And it's because of that. Because the first thing I did, all I had was the 100 easy lessons. So first day, I'm like, we're just gonna start here. We're just gonna start slow. We're just gonna go. And then all of them just took off. And we tested out that, got into reading mastery. And now almost all my kids are out of reading mastery. I have a couple left. The rest are all we're just working on fluency. We're not even in reading mastery anymore. Yeah.
That is so awesome. It's crazy to me. Like, and I was trained in sort of the big box balanced literacy programs. And so
Right.
you'd have a huge cupboard full of tons of things, and they were like peripheral things about how to use the internet. And they would have this thing over here, which was like I don't know, the service learning book and whatever else. So you'd like cram half of them over here, and then you'd have this is actually the stuff, and then you'd open up the teacher's manual, and then you'd be like, okay, what do I skip? There's literally a cajillion things here. Every teacher in the school is skipping different things, right? And every
Right.
time you taught a lesson, I just knew they didn't actually learn it. They just experienced something.
Right.
And there's all these pictures in there. Like, I swear, the amount of pictures and arrows and directions. When I found DI, I was like, it's just text. And
Right.
each lesson, I know they got it because the performance proved that they learned it. I'm so glad you've had the
Well,
similar experience, you know?
and this is kind of, it's become so much a part of my class that I'm kind of forgetting this, but this choral response and call and response, like, why have we not been doing this forever? How you need to know what your kids know. And as soon as you say that, you can tell they get it or not. And yes, there are some that are like latching on, but they are still responding. They are still talking. And you are hearing that back and forth. And I actually have taught, I did do the connecting math concepts for my whole group math. And that has been insane. And like you said, you're teaching in strands. So we're teaching 4 or 5 concepts at a time. And the thing that I think is so brilliant is the atomization that you've talked about a lot. So we just started clocks the other day. The first lesson, this is a clock. The clock has 2 hands. This hand is the short hand. This hand is long hand. The short hand is the hour hand. And then the clock starts with a 12 on top. That was it. Like I'm just introducing the clock. And when you first start DI, you're like, well, we're going to be in clocks for millions of years. We're never going to get to like actually learning how to read a clock. The next day, you're just kind of reviewing that. But all of a sudden, you would not believe the acceleration because you took the time to teach them something so small. And then you don't have to deal with any of those issues when it comes to actually doing what you really want to do is telling time or elapsed time because you taught them what a clock is and how it works and all those pieces. Because before we just jump right in and we start liking, okay, here's the time and all this, but we never taught them, made sure they actually understood this is the shorthand, it means the hour, this is the minute hand. So, but to even try to replicate as the teacher, there's no way. We don't have the time, or I don't even have the knowledge to do that. I wouldn't even know how to break that down. So the people that are trying to make DI programs, I think they're brilliant. That it's insane trying to do that, but there's no way a teacher could. So I don't. And then they interleave everything, and you're practicing constantly, and the retrieval practice, and all these stages of learning or developing or like going deeper or then moving into independent work, they're practicing these things over and over and over. And I've had to make my own spiral reviews and they weren't great. And it's just all built in, all for you. And that beautiful script. And you would not believe the content you're able to get through in one lesson. And you've taught it, but like so much content because you're doing call and response back and forth. And it's just super snappy, super fast. But you're really honing in on those little tiny parts that make it easy for them to master.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And maybe this is the time to announce. I don't know. Well, I'll say it. I'll do it. Whatever. So me and Marcy Stein, which I know you got in contact with Marcy.
Yes.
We are writing the teacher child math and 100 easy lessons right now.
Oh my gosh. Are
So
you serious?
so I've had to sit on the floor with papers of all, you said 6 concepts, right? And you're like, and you
Oh,
print them all out and you literally just are like, that's not enough. That's not enough. Too many here. Oh, it's too long. The kids are gonna get bored of that because they already know it. Okay. And we just literally have to do 100 lessons on the floor. It's
oh
pretty
my gosh. That's amazing. Oh my goodness. I know. Good for you.
I hope people that are like you with teach your child to read, they don't have a good math program. They have kids that are way behind in math or never even seen math. And this can be not only like just for parents, but this could be for
Yeah.
interventionists or for a teacher who
Yes.
really doesn't have another program. Here's 100 lessons, right? And let's get going. So
Yeah, I love that. That'll be really interesting to see how that turns out because that'll be amazing. Just getting those kids with no foundation, get them a good solid foundation really quick and get them caught up.
let's see. Let's see. I'm excited. Hey, so we've had a lot of things to talk about. We both got to go. Hey, I just wanted to thank you so much for sharing your expertise. When teachers hear this, I know that they're just going to get that extra encouragement and inspiration to keep self-coaching and keep moving on to the next thing and mastering one thing, one step at a time. I think you're very inspiring. Where can we go and
Thank you.
find you after this? Like, how can we contact you?
I am on Twitter. I think it's Stam 193. I'm on Facebook. Mrs. Stam is my Facebook. And yeah, that's kind of it.
Awesome. And I'm gonna link to some of your
Okay.
videos in the show notes so people
Oh,
can
okay.
check those out. Listeners, thank you so much for tuning in to Progressively Incorrect. I just really appreciate all the support from all of you. Check out that Step Lab stuff because we got events coming up right away. Take care.
Thank you, Zach. It's been great. Appreciate it.